usually suspected, and it appears to be so, because why are previous government finding it difficult to be able to fight that menace? So it presupposes that the allegation that we have people from top government machinery also being part of this process is highly possible. I think that the matter, they have to be firm. And if you look at the kind of strategies that the country have adopted previously to fight this, it doesn't seem to be working. And they have to look for innovative ways of handling this matter. I still have fresh in mind the secondary school children who were abducted.
Yeah.
This by these Boko Haram people.
The Chibok girls.
Yes, in fact, it was a very pathetic incident. That anytime I remember of that, I ask myself, what are the fate of those girls? I mean, it's so pathetic. So very innocent people unfortunately fall into this trap, and something has to be done about that. ECOWAS have also made some attempts and to support, but that seems not to be working. What it simply means is that these very people, day in, day out, they look out for very complex ways of handling their things. So we, leadership of Nigeria and ECOWAS, African Union, all that, they have to come in and then see how they can put together some innovative ways to be able to overcome these criminals. It's so bad, and I will pray that one day the matter will become a history, because it's so pathetic. Particularly, I'm worried about the innocent individual civilians who fall victims of these catastrophic, crimes. So I pray that the issue will be resolved soon. We'll get over the matter soon. But I strongly support the position of the president. Otherwise, we cannot continue to be to allow that to continue. But the unfortunate thing is that the victims of the people we will be putting pressure on the president, because they cannot afford to lose life. And these guys are so cruel. Sometimes they can just select some of them and kill them just to demonstrate to you that they are capable of doing anything. And that is the very sad aspect. We can all pray that the people of Nigeria will rise above this abduction, records, and then get the country back to better looking, because like I did mention from the beginning, it is very sad that anywhere you go and you mention that you are from Nigeria, they associate criminalism and they associate with criminalism, which is not too good enough. And it's because of all the traces of all these things that is affecting the reputation of Nigerians. So pray we'll get over it soon, and then that particular menace will become a thing of the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hamza. Very well spoken. A reminder again that you are live on Facebook. A few of you are watching us, but you can share so that others would also join in the conversation. I wonder if any of my guests here is following the All African Games.
I do.
You do? Somehow you do?
Not too much, but I do read some excerpts.
Yeah. For sporting fans, or for sports fans across the country who have keen interest in this, in these games, some of us are let down by especially how it has been conducted. especially if you look at the fact that we spent $198 million to renovate the University of Ghana, yes, to renovate Legon, put up Boteman, and then there's another one, $198 million. Then another $48 million was also made available to the local organizing committee for transportation, feeding, and other logistics for the games. I remember about 72 hours to the start of the games, the hockey pitch wasn't ready. 72 hours to the games, the hockey pitch wasn't ready. Eventually, I think it was somewhere 3-4 days ago that they brought in, parts of the pitch which they would assemble. I mean, how could we have been so ill prepared for an event of this magnitude? We saw what Cote d'Ivoire did with the Africa Cup of Nations. The money they spent, I think, $1 billion on infrastructure, putting up stadium, and you could see, it was visible. It was visible the extent of quality, even of the stadiums that were used for the competition. But we have spent in excess of $200 million for this competition, and the international embarrassment, for me, that is the point. The international embarrassment that is coming with it is what is mortifying. For instance, Ghana's cycling champion Michael Naba had to withdraw from the ongoing cycling competition after his personal bicycle, which he was using for the competition, broke down shortly after the contest started. He came out to say that his was made of aluminium, and then the other
one that should have been used was
fiber, but his was made, and this is our cycling champion. And then it has also been reported that Ghana's swimming team withdrew from the 4x100 relay final for undisclosed reasons. It has further been reported that Ghana's athletes are highly displeased in the ongoing games due to poor preparation and lack of equipment. The other day I heard that I think the volleyball team also, they had to sit in the bucket of a pickup. Badminton. They had to sit in the bucket of a pickup to go to the venue of where they were supposed to compete. Yet, we are told that the Kufuor-Bawumia MPP government has spent a colossal $195 million on pre-games preparation, while a staggering $48 million has been made available to the local organizing committee for transportation, feeding, and other logistics for the games. It was only yesterday also that the South African hockey team, they decided to withdraw from the games entirely because they weren't convinced about the quality of the pitch, and for the very fact that this is a brand new pitch. You're supposed to test it months before the competition itself, but this is a pitch they assembled about 3-4 days ago. So they have qualified for the Olympics, and so they wouldn't want the athletes to be injured, so why not just withdraw from the competition entirely? That is the sort of embarrassment, the international disgrace that has characterized this particular competition. So the NDC, they are calling for a forensic audit into these games, and also they are calling for the resignation of the Minister for Youth and Sports. I'm starting with you, Mr. Ebu Bakman, on this conversation. What is your general view of it? You said you've been following bits. I'm sure you've been hearing these stories that have characterized the competition.
Bless. Have you seen that the real state of the nation is coming up? This one you don't need anyone to tell you, because it is happening. This is the state of the nation. You said international embarrassment. You mentioned something like that, right? That is exactly the case. I mean, I'm also told that the lady who won the first gold or something, the weightlifter, the vest,
was what she wore during the previous All African Games.
It's funny, you see, Bless. one of the straws that people have used to siphon the resources of this country, if you put aside the almighty politics as the straw that people use to siphon resources, sports is the next one. Sports has been a very terrible straw that people have been using over the years to siphon resources from this country. You remember the Brazil World Cup issue. You remember the amount of money every year we spend on sports and the results we get from sports. It's been frustrating, let me put it that way. Because, I mean, you knew you were going to organize this tournament long ago. It's not as if it was something that it was supposed to be organized by one country and maybe they had a problem, so quickly, emergency, you had to organize it instead. It is something from day one, you knew you were going to handle it. So what do? You need to prepare ahead of time. This is commonsensical. Prepare ahead of time. And make sure even your people, your athletes, get the first-hand opportunity to be training with these facilities, to have a kind of advantage over their competitors. You sat down all this while, then suddenly throwing in things left, right, and center, expecting that things are going to work for you. No, it doesn't happen like that. And the money, staggering. The amount of money we are hearing, if you consider the state of the economy and what is happening in this country, and you're going to spend this amount of money to do this, and the results that we are getting, the reports that we are getting from the very people, the athletes themselves. And this is quite disturbing. This is quite disturbing. And I support, you see, one thing we don't do in this country is that we don't demand accountability from our leaders the way we ought to. Accountability. Because, I mean, if you juxtapose the amount that you are hearing with the kind of things that we are seeing, the result we are getting, certainly there's a mismatch somewhere. So I support any call that seeks to demand accountability. I support it fully. I mean, people should be prepared to account for what has been given them to manage. And if you continue to demand accountability, I believe it will help this country to move forward, as we've all been expecting. So, yes, I joined the call, the NDC call, to demand accountability, for them to do forensic audit into the activities, the prey, and what is really happening now. We need to ask that every city be accounted for. And that's the only way we can be sure that we have value for money. As I said, ask yourself, why is it that a lot of people, like the recent Africa Cup of Nations, the amount that was spent and the fact that we got nowhere, you ask yourself, is it worth it? If you are not prepared, that has been my argument, if you are not prepared for a tournament, you better not go. There won't be anything against you if you decide not to go. I don't know whether they will sanction you. But you are not prepared. You spend so much, millions of money, sometimes dollars, sometimes cedis. You go and you don't get anywhere. This All Africa, it's not about the number of medals you're going to get. It's about how the whole thing was organized. The amount that we are hearing and the kind of things we are seeing. I mean, yes, from layman's point of view, you might think, oh, things are going on well. But those with technical eyes and those with forensic eyes will tell you that there's something that needs to be, checked. And I support the call that, yes, those who are in charge of it should be made to account to the good people of Ghana. And there's nothing wrong that if you're giving something to manage or to do, and you have to account for, there's nothing wrong. We should make sure that yes, as NDC has put forward, I believe every Ghanaian should have interest in, knowing how our money is expended, and that call is a welcoming one to all of us as Ghanaians. But as I said, that's the state of the nation. Everything is like things are falling apart, so the center cannot hold. Every now and then, the news we hear about the economy, about our sports, almost politics, almost everything is like, it's like the general crisis. And for me, it doesn't augur well for us as a nation. Yeah.
Right. Professor Peter Chumesi is the Director General of the National, or was the Director General of the National Sports Authority, and he was at the heart of this whole, this event, and the very fact that we've not been able to, impress as far as the organization of this event is concerned. He has been relieved of his duties, but for all we know, does it not just end there? He's shirked his responsibilities. He's been sacked, and then that is it.
Yeah.
Would any other thing come of it? The very fact that thorough investigations should be conducted into whatever decisions he took when he was at Home Affairs. There, but you and I agree that nothing is going to come out of this.
Bless, I had a Chinese friend. He told me a story. See, when you see the Chinese people, when you see them develop, when you see them moving forward, you should get to understand how they do their things. He said something. He said, if you're a contractor in China, if it was wrong, I'm wrong. If you're a contractor in China and they give you contracts, and he said this road should last 10 years. So they give you money to construct road that should last 10 years. If that road lasts 8 years or even 9 years, you have a serious problem with the government. You have a serious problem with the government. One, you'll be blacklisted forever. Your company will not get even one contract ever again in China. And if they realize that the problem created by your schedule work is that serious, you may end up being in jail for doing the schedule work. For cheating the system, if you like. And so, where you have laws and systems working, you see development. You can't put away law and good systems and expect to develop as a nation. As you said, yes, when somebody is given opportunity to work in this country, let me give you a picture. It is even, everybody knows it in Ghana. When parties are in opposition and they want to come to power, the kind of issues they raise in respect of corruption and the kind of things that happened, ask yourself, how many, apart from President Kufuor, who put one or two behind bars in relation to corruption and whatever, we normally hear corruption, but when they come to power, nothing is done about corruption. It's like, you scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of system. That's the system we've been practicing. And so what do you expect to have? The kind of result we're having is as a result of things you have not been doing right over the years. And we are getting the results now. If we can change things now, then we can expect to get different outcomes. But if you continue with the same kind of system and things we are doing, my brother, 1 + 1, as I've always said, will always give you 2. you can't get 3, but if you don't change.
Right. Now let me come to Prof on this subject matter. I'm sure you've followed, like you said, you've read bits about it, and some of these issues, have come up. Your party is asking that government conducts a forensic audit into these games. Do you even believe that it's something that is going to fall in the ears of the government? To start with.
It's so disheartening to be a Ghanaian in the midst of the occurrences of these. I think that I don't know what is happening to Ghana. The kind of resources we just dissipate, and the masses of Ghanaians are struggling to even meet their basic livelihood. I thought I would be able to make time to even go and watch some of the games in the ongoing African what do you call it, all African games, but unfortunately I have not been able to make time to do that. I think that based on the development and the recounting of the series of unfortunate events, I mean, that occur in this particular tournament, I think the call by my party is a step in the right direction, so to speak. Now look at what happened at the time. Ghanaians are struggling to get over what happened in the African Games. That's the African Cup of Nations. The time Ghanaians are struggling to heal off from that particular tournament, we are being hit by another series of unfortunate events. Now look at the amount of money that was spent on the African Games, a whooping sum of about $8.5 million. You know, the Minister of Sports was at Parliament because we called him, Parliament invited him to come and brief Ghanaians what happens that the Ghana performed abysmally in that particular tournament, and also to respond to the allegations of the quantum of money that was expended in the tournament. And in the minister's submission, he tried to justify some of the budget lines of what happened. But I can tell you that some of these things are not convincing. It becomes difficult to accept some of the issues that were espoused by the minister. If you look at other countries, country by country, see the amount of money that they invested in the African Cup of Nations, far, far below what we put in Ghana as Ghanaians, and look at our performance. If you look at Nigeria, look at the amount. You know, the report showed that Nigeria had put in about $1.5 million, and look at where they were able to go. And so Nigeria, somehow a country that is somehow even richer than Ghana, then you see how much investment we made into it. So it becomes very, very difficult. I think they have a lot of questions, answers. They need to come with answers for Ghanaians. We cannot really understand where we are getting the money from when the masses are suffering. Food prices are skyrocketing. People cannot deal with their utility prices day in, day out. We are being slapped, with taxes and all that. So that is very, very unfortunate. Now, if you look at this particular AFCON tournament, it is unfortunate. If you watched events prior to the commencement of the games, you will just realize that Ghana, was not ready. So I don't understand why we go in for things that we know we cannot afford. The struggle has been too much. I can tell you that even vehicles to move the participating teams around is a challenge. Even some of the vehicles that they've rented, they are so wretched. If you see them with the tax, they are so wretched, and you wonder why we should be doing this to ourselves. So I think that we have to think through. We must not rush into things that we are not ready for. Now look at the preparation. to the extent that we even the hockey pitch that the South Africa got angry and had to withdraw because of poor hockey pitch. I mean, how can we find ourselves in this kind of disgraceful situation? It is unfortunate. We are not ready, then we rush in to say that we can't host, and yet we are struggling. And let me also mention that, bless, that a lot of things are happening to Ghana. The sense of patriotism is just sinking by day, because you have people who are not patriotic, people who don't really want to see Ghana in a better situation, being found to be leading some of these things. Because if you are a contractor or you are put in a committee to work and you don't have the country at heart, then you begin to do things that will not write good names for Ghana. And that is what is happening. When we are forming committees to look at it, we don't look at those who can do, those who have capacity and can do. Now we think about political lines. We think about other relations. It is high time we rose above some of these things and then look at those who are capable and can do. When we are awarding contracts, we don't look at capacity, because those who were supposed to handle the contracts, some of them didn't have the capacity to be able to handle that, because probably they are party people. Then we gave the contract to them and left people with capacity, those who can deliver. So it is high time as a country we try to move away from some of these kind of unnecessary relations that will not help Ghana, and focus on those who can deliver. It doesn't matter whether the person is a political opponent, because when it comes to some of these international competitions like that, it is not about a party. It is about the image of Ghana. Now, I want to believe that at the end of the day, the report that will be written for this particular AFCON Games will be something that every meaning Ghanaian will not be happy to read. So our records will go into the world, sporting kind of records as bad, that Ghana probably has hosted, has performed poorly in terms of hosting such an international event. That is not good for our image, because even for our future opportunities, it will dwindle our future opportunities. So we have to relook at it. And for me, I think that the call by our communication officer that actions must be taken is very, very important. We will have to really conduct an investigation to see what is really informing the poor performance of this committee that are working on it. What is really happening? Why did we find ourselves in this particular mess? These questions are critical, and I think that action must be taken. It is not about a political party, but it is about the image of Ghana. So I want to, on behalf of fellow Ghanaians, apologize. To countries that have been disappointed, countries that are already here, yet they find themselves in conditions that they least expected. We hosted Parliament, we hosted Commonwealth. We hosted this Commonwealth Parliamentary Association program, and in fact, a kind of feedback we got was so excellent, because we prepared. You see, Honorable Speaker made sure that Ghanaians were ready to host it. And in fact, if you interact with some of the parliamentarians and you get the feedback, in fact, they said that was the best so far among the history of the Commonwealth parliamentary events that have been hosted so far. So that was so good. So when you prepare for something, you deliver to the expectation of everybody. And then some of the MPs, when you interact with them, they tell you that they will want to come back to Ghana again. And I want to believe strongly that it is going to give us opportunities. as a Ghanaian, as Ghanaians to be able to take advantage and also gain better. But now, if you perform so abysmally, then you are making people to get discouraged, and opportunities that will probably have come to support your country, you lose that. So I think that we have to look at it as a country. I mean, preparation was poor. I mean, if the way events are being organized is so discouraging, and I think that is a sad day to be a Ghanaian, and something must be done about that. The minister and the teams must answer questions for this kind of unfortunate performance we are witnessing as a country.
Right. Let me read a few messages that I have received so far from our cherished viewers. Yaukisi from Takrady says, say, I quote, Baumias West to GM on 14th June 2016, the Mahama government is being unfair. The government has denied the company requisite resources needed for its efficient operation. What ECG needs now is for the government to pay its debts to ECG. I'm asking what has changed now. Indeed, NDCGM as an alternative is a redeemable choice. Regards to Dr. Grace, incoming MP for Esikado Ketan constituency. Now, let me do some more messages. Alaji Hamza from Pig Farm says, good morning, my brother. In my humble opinion, God will not forgive the NDC if they fail to audit funds that was used in this All-African Games. We are talking about $195 million, my brother. It is not a small money. The money big go. Are you aware Morocco spent $46 million to organize the African Games last time, and it was the best? Don't also forget that some of the facilities were not built from scratch, and some facilities were only renovated. The only thing that seems to be working on well in this country is corruption. The future of this country under the super incompetent government is pregnant with hopelessness. MPP never again. Let me move on to Facebook. This one, it says, the failure of government to crack the whip on erring appointees is a motivation factor for independent presidential candidates who can hire from amongst any constituents of the country without any fear of any adverse effects on any party. Okay, the message isn't so clear, especially getting to the end. Mohammed Abdul Karim says, good morning, bless. Do you know that some Nigerians don't want to go to Nigeria from Europe because of this kidnapping issues? Thank you so much. Real Ghana says, good morning, bless, and your able panelists. Watching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. Bless. CD is Africa's third worst performing currency this year. That's according to Bloomberg. Where is the gold for oil? The next headline, the president Nana Akufo-Addo will come out and eulogize his finance minister who just drove the country into shame and untold hardship. Oh, Akufo-Addo's government. This is the worst government ever. Bawumia is Africa's third worst performing economic missile vice president. A disgraceful person, not talking about the stinking CD and economy, but hiding behind digitalization. Baumia's arrested Ghana cedi only beats two currencies in the world, in the whole of Africa. What an overhyped economic whiskey. Thank you, Real Ghana, for your message. Samuel Doe says the president of Nigeria has all the powers to apprehend the kidnappers. He should not make such a vague statement. The lives of the victims are important. Kwame Na Acidity says currently Ghanaians are witnessing power outages because there's not enough fuel to power plants due to the mismanagement by this NPP government. Thank you very much. These are some of the message. On this note, I'll proceed to Awudu Ishak to also share his thoughts on this development as far as Ghana's organization of the All Africa Games is concerned.
Well, blessed, personally,
I have keenly followed the games, the pre-games preparations and the games proper because I like sports. I have done a little bit of sports throughout my academic my academic life, even though I've never gone professional. So I love watching football, and besides that, every other activity that got to do with sports and I have the time, I follow. And so I have followed keenly the All African Games. Now they say we should say African Games. I have followed keenly the African Games, and the disappointment within me is not different from the disappointment within every other concerned Ghanaian, because anybody who is abreast with the happenings naturally ought to be disappointed. Bless, this is an event where the bid for which I understand was started by the NDC. The NDC left office in 2016. This particular bid was put together by one of Ghana's foremost sports consultants. In fact, I think that he even owns a sports university here in Accra. Mr. Rex Dankwa. Chief, I greet you wherever you are. You know Rex Dankwa? Rex Dankwa has always been a key member of any sporting event that's got to do with Ghana. I know that he was the chief operations officer when Ghana last hosted the AFCON in 2008. Chief operations officer. And when Atta Mills brought the African hockey to Ghana, I think in, was it 2009? He was the chief executive of the local organizing committee. Bernard Mona was his deputy. And that is how come I got quite close to know whom Rex Dankwa was. And Rex Dankwa is still active and he's available. Ghana won the bid, largely based on what had been prepared by Mr. Rex Dankwa in 2018 when Akufo-Addo and the MPP came into government. They practically decided to ditch the man who put together the bid. They formed all sorts of committees, and they did not think that this is somebody who had any expertise to come and share.
I'm coming. I mean, before you proceed, so the bid was made in 2016.
Yes.
When did we win it?
We won the bid in 2018.
So we've had 6 years.
Yes.
To plan.
Yes.
For this.
Yes.
And this is the result.
Yes.
Interesting.
We won the bid in 2018. We won the bid in 2018. I'm just trying to give a background to why the games have been shambolic, why it has been a disaster. Because if somebody, out of his expertise, puts together a document, and you come and you make some few changes to that document, and you present that document, based on which you win a bidding right to host a tournament, and then you decide to jilt or to ditch that particular person, how are you going to implement all of the ideas that he has shared in the bid document? Do you understand where I'm coming from? You understand? So if you decide that Rex Dankwa is not needed, apparently, for whatever reason, probably, you know how these people do their politics. Probably because Rex Dankwa, the bidding process had started under an NDC government. They didn't want to have anything to do with him. They abandoned him and they went and brought a new set of people who are expected to see to the successful hosting of this particular tournament. Unfortunately, this is the result we have gotten so far. And blessed, for me, I just cannot understand that after 6 years and after spending that amount of money, a 195 million for infrastructure, dollars, and then 48 million for logistics and for operational costs, amounting to 240 something million. This is what we would get as a nation. This shame that greets us all the time, that even our own federations have not been able to prepare the athletes well. You have given a catalog of disastrous events that you have your national cycling champion having to pull out of a race midway simply because the bicycle he was using was not fit for purpose, and that you had to transport badminton players in the bucket of their coach's pickup. That pickup belonged to the coach of the badminton team. And that our swimming team would decide to withdraw from a semi-final event for undisclosed reasons. Meanwhile, they know the reasons for which they have withdrawn. They are just trying to cover up their shame. And so, if you have a concerned entity like the National Democratic Congress, through their national communications officer, calling for a forensic audit into the activities of the activities of the hosting of this particular tournament, you cannot but agree. And indeed, like my good friend Koko Ayindo said one time, I think that heads should have been rolling. Heads should have been rolling because some people somewhere have shirked their responsibility. It is obvious that some people have not lived up to their responsibilities. And that is how come it appears as of now that we have just thrown $240-something million
143, right?
down the drain.
195.
Down the drain.
43, yeah.
You understand? There's no value for money and there's nothing to be proud of as a country. And this is the reason for which some of us, we cringe anytime people attempt to hinge our current economic woes on Russia, Ukraine, and COVID. If you run a country like this, why would you think that external shocks would be the reason for which your economy would run aground? Doesn't make sense. If anybody sits back and you do an analysis of this particular event and you juxtapose it with similar events, because we have because if you link this thing with what is happening at the National Cathedral site, bless, and so many other things, the building of a Bank of Ghana headquarters at this point in time, amidst the insensitive decision to visit draconian haircuts on bondholders, and then somebody would come and sit on TV, look us in the face and say that but for Russia, Ukraine, and the COVID, we would have been doing well, or would have been doing better than this as a country. I mean, are you normal? Are you sane enough? That is not how to run a country. If you mismanage your country's resources, no matter how much money you have, bless, if you mismanage your country in this manner, at the end of the day, the country would collapse. You would go bankrupt. That is the reason for which we are bankrupt. And I think that the right things ought to be done. There should be an investigation into this matter. Those found culpable must be held accountable, and heads must roll.
Right. Heads must roll. But the question as to whether heads will roll is a whole conversation for another day. Right. We'll proceed to what will be our final topic. The tranches of payments that we have received from the International Monetary Fund. One of the things that we thought it was going to do is to cushion the Ghana cedis. Even with that coming in, the cedi is now hovering around 13.1 or so thereabout. Then the question, and we are also not servicing our external debts. The question as to where we would have been if we're doing all of these things. Well, I'm sure you know the answer to that. But Bloomberg has reported that of all the currencies in the 54 African countries, Ghana comes third, as the Ghana cedi comes number 3 as the worst performing currency on the continent, especially when we've been to the IMF. And the IMF relief that we have sought is supposedly meant to change things around as far as the Ghana cedi and then the economy is concerned. We are the third worst performing. The Ghana cedi is the third worst performing currency in the whole of Africa. Mr. Ebo.
Bless. just imagine what would have happened if we had not gone to the IMF. Just imagine. Just imagine if after going to the IMF, if this is the results. I don't know whether you are turning the corner, as they've been saying. What is the rate now? Today's rate is what? I think 13 point something, right? And they say we are turning the corner. You see, anyone who has been listening to me recently would know that I've been talking about this issue of the exchange rate being the heart of the economy. Any individual who is suffering from heart disease or heart problem is dying in the process. I mean, when your heart begins to function properly, you can't be sound. The heart controls the human body. The heart pumps blood to every part of the human body. That is how come we're able to go up and down. In the same way, every economy, the heart of every economy is the exchange rate. When your currency depreciates beyond certain level, you know that you don't have an economy. And the kind of depreciation we've been having over the years are quite disturbing. Because, you see, when your exchange rate is affected, it will affect your inflation. When your inflation is affected, it will affect your interest rates. And when exchange rate is affected, it affects your debt stock. When your exchange rate is affected, you can't even buy crude oil to power your energy sector. And you can't even pay the IPPs, because the IPPs, you pay them in dollars. So when that people like part of the economy is sick, the whole economy is sick. That is why when it comes to the management of the economy, the most important thing to do is to guard against the depreciation of your currency. Bless. If you are a government and your preoccupation is not to guard against the depreciation of your currency, you are not managing an economy. Because once you get that right, all other things will fall in line. And the question is, what have you done wrong over the years that has brought us to this situation? And that is where we should all be looking at. How did we get here? What did you do wrong to get here? And what should we do so that our situation doesn't deteriorate further? For me, I've been telling people, when Dr. Bawumia made this famous statement that when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. The mistake Ghanaians made was that Ghanaians should have asked him the kind of fundamentals he was talking about. Because if indeed, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, and you know the fundamentals, the only thing you do to avoid depreciation of a currency is to make sure that you get the fundamentals right, isn't it? Okay. So what did he mean by the fundamentals of the economy? That when the economy was given to him to manage as the head of economic management, he couldn't do it. He couldn't manage the fundamentals. That now we find ourselves in this situation. So for me, the issue is, over the years, and it didn't start from, don't forget, just 2000, the year 2000, it was $1, 1 cedi. Just the year 2000, it was one.
No, you mean 2007?
No, I'm talking about when. Sorry, at a point in time. Sorry, 2004. Was it 2005? When we
denominated was in 2007.
Yeah, sorry.
Was it 92 pesos?
It was 92. Yeah.
$1.
$1. Yeah.
92.
So not quite long ago.
Yeah.
So within this short time, this is how 17 years. This is how
92 pesos to 13.
Yes. So this is
13
how
points.
this is how we fed as a nation in respect of the management of our forex. So the issue is, how do we fix it? That is why I've said that those who want to lead now, if you're not able to offer solution as to how, particularly, how you fix the exchange rate issue, forget it. Because if you don't have the means, if you don't have the know-how, what it means is that you're going to continue like that. You see, the exchange rate issue is so commonsensical in economics. I don't know why the politicians don't want to adhere to simple economics. It's a demand and supply issue. Simple demand and supply issue. If you draw demand curve and supply curve right now, and say, let the demand curve shift to the right, you will see that the exchange rate will increase if the supply is constant. The only way when this one shifts to the right, the exchange rate will not increase is when it will shift to the right, supply will also shift. And in that case, it means you have enough to meet the demand. That is when your exchange rate will not depreciate, or your currency will not depreciate. This is common basic economics. So the question is, how do you do it to have enough supply of forex, or to reduce the demand for forex? That is why, one, you have to check what you can sell outside to get foreign exchange, because we print cedis, and so if you want to get foreign exchange, what do? You sell more, you export more. So you check the export sector of the economy. What should you do to expand your exports? That is the first thing you do. That is, you get the supply side of your forex. Because the more you sell, the more you get supply of forex. You come to the demand side. Ghana, whenever we are buying from outside, we don't use cedis, we use dollars. So you change your cedis into dollars before you do what? You import. So the question is, what must I do as a nation so that I don't have to use more dollars to import? You produce what you would have to, or hitherto you were importing. So you begin to do what we call import what? Substitution. So these are basic things. Okay, another thing. All the shipping lines in Ghana are foreign owned. Whenever you ship your things from China, from whatever, you pay in dollars. What do? You have to fix your shipping line, so that when people begin to use your shipping line, instead of paying in dollars, in which case they will have to convert cedis into dollars, putting pressure on the dollar for it to go up, then they will begin to pay in cedis. That is how you do it. You don't have national shipping line, national airline, like the national shipping line is not there, national airline is not there. So every now and then, dollar, you convert dollar to this. That is why Mr. Alancha Martin, check his GTP, the Great Transformational Plan. He has stated categorically how he will fix the country's forex problem. How he will be able to position Ghana to make the environment, the business environment, sound, to enable business people who engage in export business to be able to export more, to increase our agricultural production, to export more, add value to the produce, export more, to be able to earn more foreign exchange. How we can revamp or give, once again, bring to life our dead national shipping line. All those things have been stated categorically in his plan. How to fix the forex, how to fix the interest rate, how to fix the inflation. All these things are very important. And I'm saying that anyone who wants to lead this country should be someone who can proffer solutions, who is prepared to lead the way, to manage our economy, to fix this economy. It is not about just having political slogans and cliches and all. It's about putting in place practical means by which we can fix the economy. That's what I'm saying. Those who are contesting this election, to be honest with you, let me be honest with you, this election is between Mr. Mahama and Mr. Alencha Martin, because the charge for change is inevitable. The question is, who is ready to proffer solutions? It is not about this one has come to chop 8 years, so let me also come and chop 8 years. It's about who has the solution to this problem that has been suffocating us in recent times. This problem of forex, high interest rate, and the danger is that, you see, let me end on this note. The danger is that because of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is the biggest thing in Africa now, by courtesy of Mr. Alencha Martin and others who helped him to if you like, to put together this biggest project in Africa, Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We have to position ourselves to be able to take advantage of that. Check all the surrounding countries. Say we are west, third west, right? Yeah. Check all the countries in Africa, especially those Togo. Don't go far away. Togo, Benin, Ivory Coast, and they will say, oh, maybe they are francophone countries. So let's go to Botswana, Rwanda, and those areas. Go and check the economy. The truth is that, in terms of macroeconomic environment, all of them are having single-digit inflation, single-digit interest rate, a very sound exchange rate. So the cost of production, the cost of doing the business in those countries, very cheap. So you are going to produce as a Ghanaian in an economy that is having inflation of about 23%, interest rate of 35 to 40%, exchange rate of 13.5%. You are also going to produce. Then you're going to compete with someone coming from Togo, Benin, someone coming from Ivory Coast. You're going to sell your product in South Africa, for example. In terms of quality, in terms of pricing, you are going to be beaten. And so the Ghanaian businessman cannot survive. He can't thrive. His business cannot thrive because our macroeconomic environment has become poisonous. So they can't even breathe well. The business community cannot even breathe well. So I'm saying that the problem we are having in this country, is so huge. That is why I personally believe that you don't need a president who is coming for 4 years. You don't need it. 4 years, you don't need it. We need a government that will come and spend 8 years. Use the first 4 years to stabilize this economy and build on it in the next 8 years. We need a government that will put in place a system that will allow the best brains in this country to manage this country. My brother sitting here, very sharp guy. The only way he will get opportunity to serve fully in a government is when you have a government of national unity. You can get the best of every political party together and say, this is the way forward as a nation. One comes 8 years, one comes 8 years. The winner takes all system is what has given us these results. So I'm saying that we see our current situation is a product of our failure to do things right over the years. And if you continue on the same tangent, you are going to get the same results. And that is why some of us believe that the change that we are seeking to have is not from NDC to MPP or from MPP to NDC, but a change of systems, a change of leadership style, a change from manifestos to economic development plan, a change from in terms of how we can change or amend our constitution to be able to meet the exigencies of time and make sure that as a nation we overhaul how we've done things over the years and chart a new path that will give us a new result that all of us desire to have. As that is what I would say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bubakman. Very well said. I'll jump to Prof to also share his thoughts with us on our current economic situation and the very fact that the Ghana cedi, which hitherto was 92 pesos to a dollar, upon the redenomination of our currency on July 1, 2007, today the exchange rate is around 13.10. That is in excess of over 1,400% inflation if you look at that period. as far as our currency is concerned. Prof.
Yeah, thank you. Bless, before I delve into my own issues, my good friend said, we don't need a president that will come for only 4 years. And he espoused the crisis in which we are going through as a country. And I think if you look at the kind of work that has to be done to put this country in shape, it is only an experienced hand that can handle it. Somebody who has been there before, somebody who understands how it is to be a president, somebody who has been able to, who has records that are there to show for everybody to see. But to say that we should be experimenting either Baumia or Alan Chiramanting, then it means that we are not ready for the solution to our economy. So I think that let's join us. For butterflies, you are our friends. You are in the same thinking line with us. You have agreed that His Excellency Nana and then Baumia, their government is a failure. You have admitted. That is why you have dissociated yourself from that failure. So now join a potential next government, which is the NDC, so that we can work together to get the MPP out. Then we team up and see how we can utilize the good aspect of your presidential candidate. Then we can together develop Ghana and get Ghana to where it ought to be. Now, if you look at the issue of the city, if I were Mr. Blair, if I were to be Dr. Baumia, I won't be talking about the economy. Recently, I saw a publication where I understand he is preparing to deliver a speech on the depreciation of the city or something. I saw a flyer. I don't know whether it was hoax or reality. I am so surprised. Dr. Baumia, I believe what went into the mind of Nana Akufo-Addo to select him as a running mate because of his experience in the economy. He brought him to support him to shape the economy. And in fact, having been the head of the economic management team, he has recorded FF because it's a complete failure that has not been able to deliver. Now, for him to say that he's coming back to now be a driver, not a driver mate, it's a serious matter. He can't take Ghanaians for granted. Bless, if you look at the inflation, when NPP took over from NDC around 2017, look at the cedi to the dollar. It was less than 4 cedi. It was around 3 point something, less than 4 cedi. And His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Baumia said, in fact, NDC was not managing the economy well. And so he will make sure that he will get a strong key, lock the city, and give the key to the IGP to keep. We have not seen that. Now today, look at it, it has increased by almost 500%, because from less than 4 to around 13 point something. In fact, that is a serious problem. Even at the time when we are even getting support, we are getting support from IMF, we are not able to arrest the city. So I'm wondering what could happen to Ghana beyond 2024 if we continue to have this kind of government power.
That's why you need Allah.
No? We need an experienced person. I said it from the beginning that it is an experienced hand that can help us to be able to redeem Ghana from this dying economy. So I think that something has to be done. If you look at the inflation around that time, inflation around when they inherited, inflation was less than 15%. Now look at today, the inflation. What they are throwing out is even different from the reality. If you look at food inflation, that one is over 50% food inflation. So that is a serious indictment on this government. Economics they have failed. At the time that, no wonder that at the time that they have a vice president or a presidential candidate who is an economist, has turned himself into a digitalization expert. It's run away from the economy. So this is the time we have to do something for Ghana. Fortunately, we're in an election year. Let's come together and work together to throw out this government, because they are a total failure to Ghana. Now, if you look at the publication, Bloomberg is a very reputable, financial, organization that has a lot of, impeccable records. They have been doing so well and consistent in their publications. So it is not a publication that we can gloss over. It is a publication that we must take serious and look at it as a country. As it is now, it is very clear that MPP has failed in totality. We now need a government that has a track record, because NDC has done it before, prior to 2027. If you look at all the parameters in terms of the economic indicators, they were all very positive before we handed over power. Now look at what has happened. Almost everything is in a negative. So something must be done to this country again. We need His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is so experienced, who has been able to do it before, to come and take over, so that we can get Ghana back to track. I think that is what we would need to do. All Ghanaians must come on board so that we can change this uncaring government and get His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on the seat. This time we need a spare driver and not a driver mate.
All right, thank you very much. I'll read a few messages before I come to Shark. What we did wrong to bring us to where we are as a country is the voting of the MPP into power. So the remedy simply is voting this reckless government out of power. Zembo Prosper, Techiman South constituency. Thank you so much for your message, Zembo. Say Edward, watching you live from Libya. Please, you are doing the good work for the people of Ghana. Libya exchange rate today is 7 dinar to $1, which is the highest exchange rate, and they are crying. But Ghana today is 13.33 to $1. No additional time for MPP again. Okay, thank you so much for your message, and thank you for doing all the watching from Libya. Good morning to you and your panelists. The mismanagement of Ghana's economy lies on the shadows of the butterfly man in your studios and his boss, Mr. Alan Chairman, Nanado and Baumia's government from Amos in Asinfusu. All right, thank you for your message. Good morning, Bless. I'm Dominic Mahime from Bolgatanga, specifically Tongo. In fact, NDC asking for forensic audit is just a common fly and will not yield any results, because MPP and NDC, they have a taboo for accountability in their respective governments. Right. Well, are we not tired of President Nanado and Dr. Baumia's government? Things are simply falling apart, and instead of fixing the country, all that they care about is breaking the eight. Now that it's time for the MPP to be disgraced seriously during the 2024 elections, Dr. Baumia has been appointed to lead because they claim the Enimgwase Mfata Akani. Okay. That's well, Dr. Baumia's issue of not being part of the mess caused by the government is just like someone found taking in unholy meal, and when questioned, his reply was that he was only drinking the soup but not taking the unclean meat. We are a serious country, so the concert must cease. Thank you, Mystic, and good morning to the people of Gomwa West. Thank you so much for doing the watching. This one here says that, is it not the EC chair Mami Jane requirements who will make election 2024 free and fair? It is not. Okay, it is not the EC chair Mami Jane requirements who will make the election free and fair. It's about how the EC will handle the election. If they want free and fair election, they won't force Ghanaians to use Ghana card as the only card to be used to vote in 2024. 2024. We know the evil work they are doing to rig the elections to favor the NPP and Dr. Bawumia, but it won't be because Ghanaians have already made their minds to vote for the NDC and John Mahama in the next coming general elections. Thank you so much for your message. And on that note, I proceed to Audu Ishak, who will take the last bite on this conversation.